You talked about the true hard-boiled and the Bugs Bunny hard-boiled. Can you talk about a little bit of that evolution and even
Sure.
what that provides, maybe that remorselessness?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that I am very conscious of is the transmission, the kind of echo effect of the invention of the hard-boiled voice as it moves into popular culture, and it becomes Baroque. Basically, it becomes a kind of a mannerism that is separated from its innate origins and meanings. And I'm a great example. I think as I've joked in a few different places, I knew about Humphrey Bogart. I mean, who is himself recursive, not a point of origin, but I knew about him through Bugs Bunny before I knew about him directly, And as I've interrogated 20th century popular culture, which is just this field of, whether it's Hollywood films or rock and roll, science fiction, and the hard-boiled detective voice, and a number of other kinds of objects, Marvel Comics, I'm often returned to this understanding that the thing that I'm most responsive to was often created by traumatized war veterans. Whether it's Rod Serling or Jack Kirby or so many of the early hard-boiled writers, the Black Mask writers, and of course their secret master, Ernest Hemingway. And this idea that it is an encoding of a fundamental disaster of the violence of modernity. That is to say, basically World War I and then World War II, from which we have never recovered. The disenchantment with modernity, the shock of mechanized death that was possible, and that the detective wears a trench coat not because it looks cool, but because he's returned from trench warfare, which at the time was just named a kind of trauma that's unimaginable, almost impossible to reconstruct its vastness, and that this was what the voice was for. Just as the surrealists were attempting to recover from World War I, the hard-boiled detective voice was an attempt to manage trauma. That the story of these forms of distortion or figuration they were rooted in incommensurable experiences of pain and disappointment with what the 20th century had presented. And that was what we were really talking about. Or not talking about.